So since I can't see much faces, I just want to know if you all can hear me. So that could be just a thumbs up. Oh, sorry, the videos are turned off. Maybe the chat box is okay. Can you all hear me? Am I audible? Yes, okay, thank you. Great. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to this another wonderful Zoom session, which is being organized by Harmony House Kuwait. And the topic, sorry, I'm just tangled here. You see, my hands are tangled. If Can you just see? Can you all see me? Actually, there are these chains which have just tangled me. There's not an arm bracelet or anything. These chains are making my movements very tough, and it's distracting me, and it's not letting me to talk to you very easily. I just don't know. The more I try to remove this chain, the more it gets tough, and oops, my hands are completely tangled. So I think I need to do something about this, and I need to free myself from this chain. These chains are really tightening me up. So I need to find the key for this lock. I'm sure there's a key for this lock somewhere here. So let me just find the key. Where is it? Okay, here's a key. I have a key here, guys, and there's this lock. Let me try to unlock and see if I can free myself. Can I? Oh, yes, the lock has opened. And let me try to now free myself. Okay. Oh, wow. There you go. Can you see this big, thick chain? Can you all see it? Now, this was really tangling me. It made my movements very tough and became so tough that my hands were stiff, and in fact, the blood circulation stopped. And I couldn't perform anything. And so, what does this happen? I lost my moment of freedom. And so, today, I want all of us to learn how to unlock, how to find that freedom within us, to remove these chains which are not helping us to untangle and move forward. Now, every one of us, or at least for me, I had this chain which was not really letting me be free. So we all might have some kind of chain inside. It might not be the physical chain outside, but there might be a chain which is inside you, which is not letting you be free. And it is not letting you express and be at your full potential. And so today, this topic, which is freedom, the ultimate destination, which is organized again by Harmony House Kuwait, is a very beautiful topic for us to pay our full attention for the next few minutes. I say few minutes because the time will pass very fast. And if you really want to know how to free yourself from these chains, we have a wonderful guest speaker. And before I move on, my name is Piyush Ahuja. I'm currently based in Dubai. I'm an entrepreneur by profession, and I have been also associated with Raj Yoga Center and since my childhood. And what really helps me, or what motivates me to continue on this journey? Well, I think one of the biggest chain which happens in my life is the chain here in my mind. So Raj Yoga centers help me to remove certain locks from my mind through the practice of meditation. And so I really love Raj Yoga centers practices because of the meditation. It helps me on and on and on. And I think the last 1 or 2 years, I went through it through a beautiful way. I went through the year very beautifully because of the practice of meditation. So today we have, as I said, one of the amazing guest speaker, and who's that? So let's invite her. So she is Anna Doiliani. Can we have Anna please with us? Okay, I see some videos around. Great. There you go. Here is Anna. Hello, Anna. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, good evening. So lovely to see you, dear Piyush, and thank you very much for the wonderful example that you used, and thanks to everyone for participating. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Anna, and everyone. Welcome again. Thanks for joining. taking out your time. So let me just give a small, brief introduction of Anna. So Anna was born and educated in Greece and holds a BA philosophy from the University of Athens. And she is also a teacher of Greek literature and philosophy. Now, the Greeks are known for mythology and philosophy. So I think we have the right person with us in the room. Anna looks to be a lot enriched with a lot of experiences. And her lifetime search for truth and a higher purpose for human life led her to discover meditation in 1987. So since then, her journey has been wonderful because she has helped to establish meditation centers in Greece and other parts of Middle East countries. She's currently the director of meditation center in Lebanon, and she also travels around the world, doing seminars on education and values, science and spirituality, and other human spiritual development. So, she believes that meditation is important for changing the self and also the world. And I really agree with you, Anna, on that line. And her most important passion is that she likes to explore the human consciousness and also serve the world by bringing out the best in others. So I would call her the Greek spiritual beauty. The Greeks are known for their beauty. So she's the Greek spiritual goddesses. So Anna, thank you for joining again. And with your philosophy and mythology and amazing experiences, help us to really find that freedom and how do we reach to that destination of that freedom. So over to you. Thank you. And just before you all listen to Anna, I want all of you to make sure that you all are as attentive as whom? Not like me, because I get sometimes distracted, but you can be as attentive as you are right now with a bit of smile. And we will hope that you will have some questions and answers, which we will give you at the end, 10 minutes for question and answers. You can put your questions in the chat box. While she's speaking, you can listen to her and we'll give you the last 10 minutes for questions. So you can just keep your questions ready and then you can post it in the chat box. All right. Are we set to listen to Anna? Some thumbs up. Yeah, some people are trying to control their smiles. That's good. That's the way I like it. Great. So see you all again. So Anna, over to you, please.
So again, good evening and a very, very warm welcome from the heart to everyone. And again, thank you very much for giving your time, but also thank you very much, Piyush, for such a genuine sharing. And I must admit, your example, which was very nice, sets the tone on how to start, although I hadn't prepared many things. I like for things to emerge from the experience, but you have roughly an idea of what you are going to say. But I will start with what you shared because it's very much to the point. So it is so true that when someone is tied, no matter who he is, what his qualities are, he cannot use them. He cannot use himself in a way, his nature, his gifts, and this is not good for him because this is the very purpose of our existence, to be free to express the true self. But not only that, others also cannot take the benefit of the uniqueness of the person who is tied, who is not free. And of course, there are different bondages, and we are going to explore some of them. But imagine now there is a big pandemic like the one we have now, and there is a very, very, very good doctor that has found the accurate medicine, the cure for the famous corona. Very easy, very simple, absolutely effective, no side effects after 2-3 years or after 1 day or 1 minute, because sometimes there are some cases like this maybe. And this doctor is tied. He's not free to use his medicine. how does he feel when he has so many things to offer, what the whole world needs, and how others are deprived from such a not only useful but necessary, absolutely necessary medicine. So this is one thing that can happen when someone is not free. So today's topic is about freedom, the ultimate destination. And yes, there are many battles that have been fought over the years throughout the history of the world. And it looks like there are still fights being fought, and maybe they increase. And what does this mean? What does it say? What does it tell? So, first of all, that freedom is so important. If people have been always fighting for it, even at the cost of their life, and there are so many things one can share here, but I think we all know how important freedom is for each one of us, but also collectively as bigger groups, whether it is national groups or religious groups, social groups. So freedom is very important. This is proven by history. But then, why it is so important? And the second point is why we're still fighting, since we have so sincerely have been trying at the cost of our life. Why we are not free individually? Sometimes we feel that we are not free individually on a very personal level, but other times in that collective level that we just mentioned. So when I'm looking for something, and the more I look for something, this highlights the importance of it. So freedom is very important, and that's why we have been searching for it, because this is our original stage, this is our nature. And because it is our nature, it means we cannot live without it. There are other qualities, other facets of our nature that if we are deprived, so to speak, because we will see if really anyone ever can deprive us from anything. I don't think so. I don't think anyone can deprive us, especially from ourselves. And so freedom is a quality. It is one facet, one aspect of our nature. And like other aspects, unless we experience and express them, we'll definitely miss them, look for them, because it's like the oxygen. The nature of the lungs or the nature of the body is to live on and enjoy oxygen. So if you remove the oxygen for seconds, you suffocate. The first priority is this, because this is your very nature. So in the same way, we have been looking for freedom, and we will always be looking, because it is our original, natural state. And what is original and what is our nature? It means it is constant. So if, let's say, you have a fish, the nature of the fish is to swim. So if the fish cannot swim for whatever reason, this does not change its nature. So our nature is freedom. The original nature of every human being is to be free. But somehow we don't feel free at this point of time. And we are looking for it all this time. And we have not found it. Thousands and thousands of years, there are different battles of different kinds. that have been fought. So perhaps we don't look the freedom, to find the freedom where it really is. Or perhaps we don't understand what freedom really is. What is really freedom? We say, I want to be free. Usually, we describe our freedom in connection with something from this physical world. I want to be free from this person, from this relationship, from this situation, from this job, from this political government, from usually people and situations. So we claim our freedom. We try to find it by claiming it, by trying, by struggling, and sometimes feeling that we are trapped and we cannot do anything about it. So, is this really the freedom we should look for? Because perhaps there are other areas, not perhaps, I'm sure there are other areas that we associate our freedom with, or there are different other areas we try to become free from. I try to become free from something. So let us see a little bit more clearly what really we are looking for. Because clarity is absolutely necessary in anything that I'm looking for in my life or I'm doing. I need some light to be very clear. To be very clear, if I'm in a room, I need light. Otherwise, I can mistake things, I can stumble, So we need clarity even for inner aspects of our life. So, especially for our inner world, we need clarity. So, what has been happening so far is that we look for freedom, as we said, from people and situations, just to keep it in essence. And maybe we can add some more things, but I would say that they can be included, they can fall into these categories, these two categories, people and situations. So let's take an example that I am in a relationship with a person. It might be my mother, it might be my husband, my wife, and at some point I start wishing, desiring to be free from them, to be free from their presence. It starts like I want to be free from this person because this person, and then we start saying, makes me feel like this. So I understand that there is some noise, and I hope it's not too disturbing, but I don't think there is anything that I can do right now because it's coming from outside and it's beyond me. I'm sorry for this. I hope it's not too disturbing. If it's too disturbing, we can always find a solution. Thank you. So there is, for example, a person, as we said, mother, husband, and we say, I want to become free from them. They suppress me. They make me feel like this. They make me feel like this. So, different feelings. But basically, if we shine some light, we will see that what we are saying is that I want to become free from these feelings that I associate with that person or situation. So it is a very simple aspect that I'm sure you must have heard from Harmony House, for the ones who are connected with Harmony House, or from other spiritual, philosophical, psychological places. So it's something that it looks like the whole world starts accepting, acknowledging that it's not about the person or the situation. It's about the feelings that are triggered when I am with those particular people or situations. So basically, what we say is that I want to become free from these feelings. And this is great news, because we can't always change people or situations. In fact, we can never change them, but we can always change the feelings that we want to become free from. And because we spoke about light, let me be more clear and even correct what I just said. Just to check if I'm too fast for the translators or if everything is fine. Shall I continue? Yes, I think I would have received some kind of message that I'm speaking too fast. So, let me correct a little bit what I said earlier. I said, but it's not my knowledge. So it is known that we want to become free from a person or a situation. Is when we say this equals I want to become free from the feelings that I feel uncomfortable with. But somehow, in illusion, I associate these feelings with something external, although these feelings are absolutely my creation. I created them, and we're going to explain a little bit more, in illusion. We created them in ignorance, and we sustain them. And because they were created in ignorance and they are not our nature, we'll never feel comfortable with, even if our ignorance is so deep and so strong and so dark that somehow we manage to feel somehow comfortable for a short time. But because they're not our nature, sooner or later, we will have to become free from them. And so this is the correction I would like to make here in what I said earlier, that it's not about changing my feelings. It's about becoming free from them. And often we hear courses and seminars about positive thinking and changing my thinking from negative to less negative or positive. And my understanding at this point of my spiritual journey is that it's not about changing the way we think, but it is about seeing that I am not those feelings. So I don't need to change those feelings, because feelings by nature, feelings are associated with the thoughts. There is a process within us, there is a function, there is a faculty, capability, whatever we call it, which we all know, which is the thinking. We all always think. And thoughts means they come and go. And thoughts are always associated with some sensations, some feelings. And they also come and go together with the thoughts. So if I try to change a positive feeling, if I try to change something negative to positive, then it's very possible that this positive will also change to negative. So it's the nature of the mind to move in a way, for thoughts to come and go, for our mind to do something. All the time, someone within us is doing something talking, analyzing, trying to understand, all the time doing something. So I would say that the root problem that we have to address in order to become free from every aspect that each one of us has ever tried to become free from is freedom from ignorance. That's why, since Piyush highlighted my Greek origin, just to say that know yourself, know thyself, which was on the walls of the Delphi Apollo's temple, where the big oracle, the very famous oracle of the ancient times, used to be in that temple, and everywhere you could see written this: know thyself, know yourself. It's all about knowledge, and Socrates used to say that the root of all problems is ignorance. All evils start from ignorance. So I think, and this is my experience, but maybe we can explore this together, what we need to put our attention on is at the seed level of slavery, which is ignorance, confusion. And this expresses itself in different ways. Ignorance manifests, influences different areas of our lives throughout the history of human mankind. So, and the sooner we address it, the better it is, and I think it's time to address the real problem. Otherwise, we have reached a point that everything around us, whether it is relationships or nature, all aspects of life tell us that we have done something dramatically wrong. But not only for this, there's no emergency to become free from ignorance, because we have been in ignorance for a long time, so long to have these extreme symptoms of ignorance in our lives, the whole world. But also because ignorance deprives us from something extremely beautiful, which is our true self. In ignorance, we thought that we are something completely different than what we are. So the first thing we have to address is freedom from this first aspect of ignorance, which is, who am I? And who am I? There are many aspects to who am I, but I would like to take up one, and maybe if we have time we can explore a little bit more. We are, and maybe we don't need, because it is perhaps includes everything. We are perfect. We are complete. We are full. This is our nature. And as we mentioned in the beginning, nature never changes. What is natural is always there. Originally, constantly, eternally, and this means now. So, if I understand who am I in this aspect of my fullness, perfection within the self, then I'll become free from everything else. Because another aspect of dependency or slavery, which is of course the opposite of freedom, is the neediness. So we are all, and I would say we all, and I mean it because even if it is not in a gross form, in a subtle form, all of us feel incomplete. And the result of this is that we think, we feel strongly sometimes that we need something. And there are so many things on the list of what we need. I don't need to tell you what we think that we need. But if one observes the mind sincerely, closely, with a very clean mirror, we will see that constantly the mind is like a beggar. And whatever we need, or whatever we think we need, we become the slave to that thing. The body definitely needs, and we know the needs of the body, and we have to respect them. We have to fulfill in a very wise, mature way the needs, but again, without becoming dependent on those needs. And this can happen only if I think that I'm not full. Then I will use anything around me. And we have been doing this all our lives. I'll use everything, even the physical needs of the body, somehow we'll mix it and I will make it my need, the need of the soul. But we will use everything that is there for another purpose, maybe, to fulfill these needs, which means to become the slave to something that is just there to help me, to facilitate my expression. So basically, what we are saying, if we would like to give a summary of what has been so far, is that every single human being on this planet is like a seed that is full within the self. And we come here just to express this fullness. So if I am full, if this is my nature, what has happened to me? And constantly my mind, and I say constantly by having observed it within the self, what has happened to me? And all the time I am looking for something. I am a constant beggar in a subtle or gross form. And I keep tying myself with new, so to speak, needs or reinforcing my old needs. So, because it takes one thought, one wrong belief, and then I start a habit based on this belief, and then if I don't stop it with some clarity, in case it is a wrong belief, then this becomes so strong, and then one needs to really, in a way, a shock to realize what has happened. So I would use this example, let's say, the example we used, I'm full, and then at this point of life, I'm full of dependencies. When I already have what I am looking for and what I'm happy with, crumbs of it. So this is extreme. It's like someone is a prince, someone is an emperor and has all the treasures, and he lives all his life as a beggar. So we sometimes need a kind of shock to come out from such illusion. This reminds me of the example of this beggar that he's begging all his life. He's miserable. He doesn't have to eat. He's just a sincere, miserable beggar. It's not that he's rich and he's begging because he wants to increase his riches with this strange job, but he really feels that he doesn't have and he's begging. But right next to him, there is a banquet with everything, much more than he thinks he needs. But there's no light, and he can't see what is just next to him. So he spends all his life begging, when the only thing that he needs to do is just to look, give the light of his attention to the riches, to the treasures he has next to him. And I think this is this is the thing, the problem that needs to be addressed, because this is what has happened to all of us. We are full, but we have not given the light of our attention to our treasures. As simple as that. I remember many years back, or how many years back, when I started my journey, my spiritual journey, I used to hear and I used to say, and I still hear and I still say, that wherever the attention goes, energy flows there and life grows. And the last, I would say, 1 year, I start realizing how much truth and how basic this truth is, because it is really all about what I give my attention to, what and how intensely, which is connected for how long or how repeatedly I give my attention on something. So, and it's all about this. So, attention is described as the most intimate power of the self. The most intimate power of the self is our attention. And our attention has been totally distracted throughout our journey on this physical world. Our attention, and just see it within the self now as I'm sharing these thoughts, we can all together check and agree or disagree. Where has my attention been all my life? Where has my attention been today? Where was my attention? What was I thinking? How much my attention was pulled to those thoughts? So let's see first of all the content of my thoughts. Were there any physical images, either of human bodies or human objects, some situations? So what was the content of my thoughts? I would say a lot, at least for myself, the content of my thinking today was quite a lot about this physical world. And this is not a problem, because we live in this world. And that's why what we call mind, which is a valuable instrument to communicate in this corporeal world, the self, this incorporeal, subtle energy that we are. We need the mind to express the self in the corporeal. So there is nothing wrong with creating thoughts about this physical world. But the question is, who is using the mind? So yes, I need to think of the supermarket, which is something physical, of the physical world. I need to think of the the friend I'm going to meet, or maybe I need to think time, because we had a Zoom meeting, so I needed to think of time, I need to think of spaces. No problem with this. They're all necessary. The problem is, with all these thoughts that I'm creating about this physical world, am I associating myself with these thoughts? And these thoughts are for this physical world. And here I remember now the allegory of the cave, and maybe another time we can talk about it, Plato's allegory of the cave, where there were those prisoners in the cave, and they knew nothing else all their life except that cave, and the wall that they had in front of them were shadows of objects that were behind them, were cast on that wall. So there were shadows on a wall that they were looking at. So imagine this cave and a wall and prisoners bound in a way that they couldn't move their head either left or right. They couldn't move their legs. So they hadn't seen even the other prisoners next to them. The only thing they would see were shadows that were cast because of the fire that was behind them, and behind the fire there were people that they were holding objects, statues of the real objects that were outside the cave. So there were two eyes removed from the real world. Why? Because on the wall they would see the shadows, but the shadows were the shadows of the statues that were behind them, statues of people, of humans, of trees, of animals. And those statues were statues of the real objects that were outside the cave. In a similar way, we have also been giving our attention in the way that their prisoners were giving the attention to the shadows and thought that they were the real things. In their mind, they were giving life. They were taking those objects from the screen, and they were not the real objects, they were shadows of statues. So no reality. It was just fictional shadows. So in their mind, they would give life to those objects, and they would create stories and interpretations. And because they were giving attention, their attention, the life of attention, with lack of clarity to all of them, they were not clear that those are shadows. So it was a combination of both. One, lack of understanding, lack of clarity. The other, that the attention was drawn. Because of lack of clarity, they couldn't see that that was not important, but the attention was drawn also because there was a habit of repetition. When you repeat something, you become good at it. So they became very good at looking only at the objects and giving life to those and think that they're real and create feelings about them. And all their life was based on the shadows and interpretations. So the same thing happens to us right now. When Socrates asked the student he was dialoguing with, because this allegory of the cave was presented in the form of a dialogue between Socrates and a student. And so when the Socrates who was narrating this allegory to the student asked the student, who was actually the brother of Plato, asked him, who you think these prisoners are? And Lafcon, which is the name of the student, said, we are these prisoners. So from the very beginning, it was very clear that we are the prisoners. And we are the prisoners of this physical world. In what way? Because this physical world is constantly in front of us. We are in this world. Our body is in this world. And there is nothing wrong with this. This is wonderful. This is the reason why we are here, to have this body, to be in this world, in order to express the self through the body in this world. But what happened to us? We lost clarity. We lost clarity, and I, the guest, and a guest is always free, I, the visitor, I, the traveler, guests, visitors, travelers, come and go. They're always free. That's why they're called like this, because they know the entry point to the place of visit and the exit point. So we, these travelers, these guests, entered this world in order to express ourselves. So this world is absolutely wonderful, and the body is wonderful. But what happened, and this is the problem, is ignorance. There is a very nice word in Sanskrit or Hindi. Maybe Aruna or Piyush can clarify this for me. I don't know if it's Sanskrit or Hindi, but it doesn't matter that much. What matters is what it means. Maya means confusion. To such an extent that it can become illusion and delusion. In illusion, I'm more than confused. I'm illuded, but when I'm deluded, it's a big problem. I don't even know what has happened to me. And that's why Socrates was named as the wisest man in ancient Greek times. I will not go into the details of this, but the essence of it is because he said this very famous proverb saying that one thing I know, that I know nothing. And the problem right now in the world is that we don't know that we don't know. And this is how we have been living our lives. And this has led to more and more slavery. So coming back to the prisoners of the cave and what has happened to us and our attention. So this physical world is wisely, perfectly, wonderfully here, no problem. We don't want to change anything about this world. And in fact, we can't. And this is another topic. But we are here to express ourselves. At some point of time, we started confusing things. We lost our clarity. And instead of knowing and living our life as the true self, instead of experiencing myself as I really am, as an invisible being, an invisible presence in this physical and very much visible body, physical body. So instead of experiencing myself as a subtle energy, and let me clarify a little bit here. So our thoughts and our feelings are subtle and invisible. Not only invisible, they cannot be sensed by any of our senses. So in the same way that our thoughts and our feelings and all these cognitive faculties cannot be sensed by our senses, the source of them is of the same nature. So the self is as not sensed by the physical senses as our thoughts and feelings, because the thoughts and feelings are the source of all of this. So are of the same substance, you can say, of the same nature. So I have some confidence to say, even to the new ones who have not explored more around these basic aspects of truth that Raja Yoga has been sharing very generously and very wisely with all of us. So still I feel confident to say that yes, there must be something beyond this physical that the senses can grasp, that uses this physical. Because we all know that there are thoughts, we all know there are feelings. There must be a source to them. It's not that it's raining feelings and thoughts and I'm under them and I catch them and I grasp them. So there is someone, this someone is non-sensed by the body, in the body. And I would call this one the incorporeal, in the corporeal, the subtle, the invisible, in the gross, in the visible. So we come here and Maya creeps in, and Maya, as we said, is confusion, ignorance, and we start associating the self who is complete, who is perfect, who is full, and who is a guest and comes here for a short time. He's temporary here. So he does not have any reason to be tied here. It's not his nature, it's not the purpose, so he shouldn't do that. So if we are doing this, it's because illusion comes in and we start identifying the self with whatever we are associated with for a short time. So I identify myself with a body, which means I describe myself as a body, but I'm just associated with this body for a short time. And whatever the body is connected with, in more illusion, not only I'm associating, I'm identifying myself with the body, but I describe myself, I put the label of I to whatever this body is associated with. And what happens then? If now I am the body, and if now I am the objects, or the objects that the body is associated with are mine, and really in bigger delusion, I am this. So that's why we suffer when something happens to something out there. I feel as if it's happening to me, because my identification has gone too far to describe myself as something that is very, very far from me. It might be my house in California, which is not near, but it's mine, and not only mine, I am that in a way. So when something happens to it, I suffer. The house doesn't suffer actually because it's lifeless, but I suffer with the way I interpret that object there. And I interpret it as mine, and I interpret it as I. So these things have been happening to us for a long time. So the identifications are very, very strong with all of us. And so when I identify with myself, with something, I am not anymore conscious to my true self, because I describe myself as something else. And who describes myself? Actually, my mind. So the self comes here, this silent presence, perfect, complete. Perfection means love. Perfection means happiness. Perfection means a feeling of fullness. So I come here, I am this. Perfection means secure. But now, I don't know myself as such, I don't experience myself as such. In the beginning, the self, as such, was using the mind as an instrument to express the fullness in this physical world. Now, I'm unconscious to myself. Maya, illusion, I forgot. So my mind takes over, and the mind is a terrible boss, very good servant, but awful boss. So the mind now is thinking, the mind is a faculty of the self, starts thinking, and thinking about the physical objects, about people, but then we put the label I to all of this. In the same way, the prisoners think that the shadows are real, and they identify with the shadows. So we identify with our thoughts that are all now full of the physical world. And because the nature has not changed, what we are doing is we project the feelings of the self, the feelings that we are. This has not changed, but we, in illusion, in great illusion that keeps increasing, we associate them we mix them with the lifeless objects. So I see a house now, it's out there. For a short time, I'm going to leave it, and it has an end, because this is the nature of this physical world, end and change. It's going to change, it's going to end, but now I think that this will give me security. How can I project security to something lifeless? I am security. I am. I'm the essence of security. But I associate security with something lifeless. And so I become tied to it. I become the slave of it. Look what's happening. We said in the beginning that we need light to become free. From such big illusion, we need total light. What has happened to us is that we associate our very essence that we can never change and we don't want and we shouldn't. It's there, but we associate it with something completely beyond us, something that belongs to this physical world. So now I am looking for something, I'm searching for something that I already am, and because I don't look in the right place, I don't give the attention to myself within, I'm looking for it outside. And of course I will become the slave of everything that I interpret as the source of the feelings that I already am. I am already peace, I'm already happiness, I'm already love. When I realize it, by giving the attention to these treasures that I am, and this is what we're going to do now with what we call meditation, but I would say it's more shining light and creating clarity and seeing the treasures that we constantly have. So by seeing these treasures and feeling them right now, then I become free from all the needs, as we said in the beginning, that I think that I have. I need a person to love me, I need attention from someone, I need a comfortable house to feel secure, I need to go holidays to feel happy. It's all illusion. So we are tying ourselves by thinking in this way. So freedom is not from the objects. The objects are there and we are here to use them freely. But we have to become free from the Maya that makes us interpret the physical world in the wrong way, which is as a source of what I already am. And if I become full, then so this will take care of every other aspect of our lives. So if I become free from this illusion that I need something, if I see that I'm already full, then freedom in relationships, freedom from money, freedom from places, freedom from expectations, freedom from complaining and sorrow, from everything. All of these are the result of ignorance. And so I would like to stop here, and of course there are many other things we could touch, but thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you a lot, Anna, for that wonderful sharing and many deep insights, which we were, at least for me, it was happening as and when you were sharing. So I hope that the audience also is having some good time listening to her and some deep insights. But would you like to have some experience now? So we would like Anna to take us into an experience of, how to change our feelings and that the freedom. So can you take us into a journey of meditation? Before then, after that, we can take some questions.
Yes. So we have been using myself and Piyush the word meditation, and of course it's very correct when understood properly, because it has been used a lot, and I would like for us to see in how we see it in Raja Yoga. It's about creating light, shining light, creating clarity and seeing things as they are. By creating the right thoughts that then will lead us to a stage where we don't need those thoughts. We have to become free from those as well. So we create some thoughts based on understanding, on truth, and reminders such as that, who am I? Let us take a few minutes to reflect. Who am I? I am what I have been looking for all my life. I've been looking for freedom from fear. Because I am fearless. So all the people or situations I've been afraid of are lifeless. They belong in the physical world. I give them life with my thinking, the way I interpret them, giving them attention. Giving attention to those thoughts that have the content of fear. So now I create the thought that describes myself. I am fearless. I don't know fear. Nothing can ever happen to me, the self, this invisible being, this guest in this physical world. I am free from sadness. Sadness is another interpretation, how I interpret the physical world around me. Sadness is only through my thinking. I now become the observer of thoughts and feelings of sadness. The observer is not what he observes. So the observer is not sad. He observes the sadness. The observer is free from sadness. I'm free from desires, from needs. In the mind, there are thoughts that I need this person or this object. It's only a thought. I now see the observer of that thought as well. The observer does not need. He's full. He can observe the thought of needing something, just as a thought without giving it any attention, just noticing it. The self is totally free from all thoughts. The master, aware of all thoughts, as such as thoughts that come and go. Their nature is to come and go. We don't need to do anything, we don't need to try, they will go. Just gently allow the attention to be drawn to its source, the self, this eternal being of subtle light, a being that is perfect, a being that is full right now. Each one of us is subtle, invisible presence, is full. We are here to enjoy our fullness, our uniqueness, our perfection. We need nothing from this world. We come full. So we continue our performance of this physical world through this body, but with clarity. As guests that are full. We come and we aim not to tie ourselves with thoughts, new thoughts. I need this, I need that. Our aim is to remain free. We hold the key to our prison. Our prison has only one bar. It's not a real prison. We create the web and we hold the web. We're the creators and we hold it. And we can live it. We can live any thought that ties us with any feeling or anything physical of this physical world. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. So I know after the meditation we might not have many questions because it slows us down, it gives a clarity of thinking. But still, I would like to keep the platform open for all of us to anything which you would like to share, or would you like to ask Anna what she shared today. So you can put it in your chat box as we're keeping the chat box open. So would anyone like to ask something? Even our people who are joining different languages, Turkish, Arabic, Greece, they would like to ask, and our translators can then share it here. So Anna, till people ask, I had this one question, which was on relationships, as you were mentioning. So sometimes when you are in a relationship with, as you said, a parent or a friend, or at work, what happens is that we tend to get tangled, or we get tied up with some situations with these people. At that time, we ask that, as you mentioned, I need to be free. I'm feeling like this. So, do you think that we can free ourselves, or we need someone to free us? Do you think that we always say that, can I, like, is it like that? I have to take the first step, or I let them do it. How does that work?
So, yes, it is up to us. The choice is ours. We have, first of all, to become free, because, as we said, we are the creators of our prisons, from the way we think. We are the creators of the web or the net. And so we have to stop creating it. We have to come out. We have to choose to come out. But we need some help, yes, because illusion is such, as we said, or was such, that we didn't know that we didn't know, or we don't know that we don't know. So we need someone to remind us, to tell us what has happened to us. And this is where we need the help of someone who has total clarity, and he's always in this clarity. And that's how I would see the role of the Supreme Being, God, in all traditions, religions, philosophies. God is connected with truth. And it's very interesting that in Greek the word truth is alethia, without forgetfulness. So God is the teacher, the knowledgeful one. These are titles that almost everyone is using to describe God. So he's the one who has all the knowledge, wisdom. So because he never enters the physical world to associate himself with something, so that what happened to us to happen to him. So we need someone to wake us up, and that one has to be awake. Only someone who is awake can wake us up to remind us what has happened to us. But also in the
You know,
physical,
so- sorry, I heard someone. What you were saying?
but also as friends, spiritual companions, we can also help each other. We cannot really free, but help in one way or another. The freedom is in us, even if God is Almighty and He's Almighty, and if God wanted to free everyone, He does want. Ultimately, the choice is ours.
So I just wanted to just add on to this, because there's also something similar what Sylvia is asking, is that, so if you are being challenged by an individual in a situation, do we leave them and say, well, I want to be free from them, so I leave them, and I so adding on to what Sylvia is saying, that you become alone in this world and you say, well, I have God with me, that's it? Or you try to address the situation and try to talk to them? What do you suggest?
Um, yes, we should address the situation, but not necessarily by speaking to them, because I think that the problem is not them. And sometimes we try to fix relationships, but not for the right motives, even, because it is comfortable to have a good relationship. And this can be really quite superficial, because we may be kind, smile, for the wrong reasons, because we are afraid to have because we are afraid of our own feelings that emerge in the presence of the other person. So we try to make the other person pleased by fulfilling what they want, and we think that this is addressing the situation. But this is very superficial, because, again, as we said earlier, the problem is what I feel that I don't feel comfortable with, because it's not my nature. So I address those feelings by not giving them attention and believing them as real. Otherwise, if I address it in a superficial way by trying to please them, or if I leave the situation, if I leave the person, still I have not addressed the real problem, which is the feelings I don't feel comfortable with. If I become free from them, wherever I am, I will not need to change anyone. I will accept them naturally as they are. And this is the addressing of the situation, when I'm not influenced, which is I have purified myself from these wrong feelings, so they don't emerge. So I'm there with the person, I don't need to address anything, which is my feelings.
Okay, thanks. So there's another question which comes up, is that freedom from the physical. Nicole is asking that when the basics of security such as food, etc., are not assured, like for us in a country, how do we free ourselves from the fear of lack of all these the basic security like food and shelter? So she's like asking, how do you? Sorry, Nicole is asking, how do you free yourself from this fear, which you have?
Yes, the body has needs, and we definitely need to fulfill these needs. But whether it is a body or any other situation, I can play my role wisely, and in this case, fulfill the needs of the body, either feeling insecure because I think that I'm the body, and if something happens to the body, it's happening to me, or with wisdom, which means with a space of security. So no matter what happens to the body, at some point we're going to leave it anyways. Nothing happens to me. So I still take care of the body, absolutely, but from another space, from another way of thinking.
Okay. right? And also we have someone who's asking that we addressed that already. Again, it's an adding on to the first question. Okay, there are situations of people who are haunting us, even if we try to leave them. What do you do then? You try to leave people, and yet they come to challenge you.
And they come to chat. It's
So
lovely.
you're trying to leave some people, or occasion there are you're trying to leave people so that you get free, but they still come behind you, or they still come to you, or you get in touch with them, or somehow. That's what the question looks like to me. So what do you do at that time?
First of all, we shouldn't leave them. We should
Okay.
leave our
So you
feelings that are triggered. We shouldn't leave them. But if we cannot deal with our feelings, maybe we can leave the situation or the people, because if they trigger it in an intense way, maybe I cannot deal properly. Maybe I need some time. So temporarily, I can leave a situation if I can, because sometimes.
okay.
Sometimes I can leave, sometimes I cannot. If I can leave them, in order to again address the real problem. The real problem is not others or the situations. And then I come back, and that's a problem. If I don't need to come back, I don't look for it. But real freedom is to be unconditional. No, this person makes me feel like this, I cannot be with them, I have to go. This way of thinking doesn't emerge the best within us.
That's right. That's right. I agree with you on that. Great. So any more questions? So here's earlier you were talking about, there's one more question. Earlier you were talking about the senses and the self, and how the senses are not aware of the self. Is that correct? If yes, can you elaborate on the awareness of the self?
Yes, the eyes can see at a frequency, a certain frequency, so they can see the objects of the physical world, everything that exists in this physical world. But the eyes cannot see our thoughts and our feelings, or my ears cannot hear my thoughts and my feelings, or I cannot touch. So the senses cannot sense the self. The self is the source of these inner faculties. So in that sense, we cannot sense the self. But the self, whatever happens to the body, the self can feel it. And whatever the self thoughts, feelings we create have an impact on the body. But the senses cannot grasp in that sense the self. Yes.
Okay, great. So I think that sums up to today, and that was a very beautiful session, and really a lot of insights for myself, if you ask me, and a lot to learn from you. And even few of the questions which I had in my mind were already answered during the session. So thanks a lot for you, Anna, to give us time all the way from Lebanon. And this is where Zoom gives us this beautiful opportunity for us to connect from wherever we are. And thanks to all of you who have joined and taken out your time, who were there all throughout the day. And just to all let you know that tomorrow we have a meditation happening by Harmony House, and the Zoom ID and the password is written here. The timing is 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It's Kuwait Bahrain timing, and it will be in Arabic, so you can log on to that. And there's a lot of blessings coming to you, Sister Anna, from a lot of people. Gratitude, divine, and some in Turkish and Greek. I can't read them, but there's a lot of good blessings. So really, thank you a lot. And yeah, I think I would just like to end it with a nice quote, which I remember was that it says that it doesn't matter how your beginning was of your story. It doesn't define who you are. But what matters is is the story that what you choose to be. So it's important what all of you choose to be right now in this moment, and keep that positivity in you and the good wishes. And keep joining for such more sessions. And we hope that you stay always uplifted and positive. Thank you. Shabba khair. Good night. Good evening, wherever you joined from. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much for your lovely presence. Thanks everyone. Thanks, many thanks to Harmony House that really, with the constancy and the dedication to truth and to values, keeps the light on. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Harmony House.